therapist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I see Jocelyn and Catherine in the house already. That means everybody else is going to show up. There's Linda. Hi. Good to have you here, Linda. I'm excited, sort of excited about this week. I don't know about you guys, but I am. Do you see that pretty lake behind me? I'm telling you, I have been in there more times this year than I have all the years combined that we've lived here, just because it's been so nice and so beautiful. That's my dog. He's kind of, oh, you talking to me? Yeah. Anyway, that's Linky. So glad you're all here. We're going to be talking about a pretty heavy subject. We're going to be talking about shame today, but I think it's a real necessary evil, shall I say, that we need to be talking to each other. Hello, Samantha. It's good to have you here. But I think it's something that we all need to talk about, even if we think we've handled it. And I have a reason to tell you all of that, because I will tell you my story here in just a minute. Jocelyn, thank you. I just washed it. It's still a little damp, but I never wear it down, and I thought, well, it's still got to dry, so here you go. There you get to see it. Collagen, girls. That's all that collagen. Anyway, this week we still have some stuff left in the shop, especially Crave water, especially over 40 water. And if you haven't jumped on it, we have a buy one, get one. I don't care what you get. You might want, if you get a Crave water, we'll send you another Crave water for free. If you get an over 40 water, we'll send you another over 40 water. What other things that are left, I'm not exactly sure. I think we're just down to dregs. But I know especially the over 40 water and the Crave water, nobody else offers that. So if you haven't jumped on it, now's your opportunity. Go grab it and find that at savingdinner.com/show. Also, Recreate Your Life is back. We have another whole book club coming up for our third quarter. Can you believe that? Anyway, it's called Recreate Your Life. And what we do in this Recreate Your Life book club is that we have 3 books that we go through, and they hit everything differently. Heart, mind, body, and soul. And we go through these books, we discuss them, we hot seat them, and it's just a fabulous way to really get into the things that you want to grow in your life and you want to get better with. So that's fantastic. If you go to savingdinner.com/create, you will get that. Okay, Linky wants to say hello. Hi, Linky. Say hi, Linky. Hi, buddy. All right. Aren't you glad you got to see him? He's such a good boy. All right. Anyway, so sign up for, you can just, and you don't have to sign up for the whole series. Just sign up for that one. It is phenomenal. We've got 3 great books coming up. I don't have them exactly right with me, but it's all there on the page. Go take a look at that. Also, our master series. We've been doing a whole thing on nutrition, what you need to know, what you need to have in you so that you can, you have confidence when you go out. You're looking at food in a different way. Instead of looking at food like, this is a treat, this is good for me. We start seeing things a little bit differently. We learn and use that target trifecta principle throughout, and we learn how it affects our mood, our energy, all the other things. Well, Miss Tanya's here. Say hello to Miss Tanya. I'm glad to have you here, Tanya. You just missed Linky. He's right here. Just a good boy. There's his nose. He's just a good boy. Anyway, if you missed the first 2, so what? They're all recorded. You can go back and watch them. You can get the whole class and the whole class pack, if you will, or you can buy just a class that interests you. Go to savingdinner.com/nutrition and you will find it. Well, thank you, Jeanette. Hello, hello. I'm glad to see you here. Anyway, so that's what we have cooking in the shop, so to speak. Take advantage of our sales. And when I'm telling you about these things, it's because they're top of mind. These are the things that we are currently working on right now. They're fresh, they're brand new, like this nutrition series that we're doing, the masterclass series, and also Recreate Your Life. That is new every single time. And I always get so much out of it. We do hot seats, we ask probing questions. If this is something that interests you, like just like what's next in my life, what is it that I need to be doing? This is Recreate Your Life. Did you hear my doggy? He's talking to you. So I already told you we are going to be talking about basically the Shroud of Silence, how shame took root in my story. And I'm talking about this because this isn't just my story. This is something that we've all come to this place of knowing that, okay, the dog is over here with his pink pony. He's part of the Pink Pony Club. He's got his toy. He wants me to play with him. Of course he does. Anyway, I'm upstairs. Can you see that? Can you see the lake behind me? Jocelyn, thank you. Yeah, Jocelyn's a part of our series on nutrition, the masterclass series. There's so much to it. I'm just going to, this is a sidebar, by the way. I just want to say this. We understand a part of what it is that we do and why. We like, for example, the Target Trifecta plate and the way of eating and all of that. But then when we go a step further, what we learn is the effect and the connection to all the things, your mood, your energy, your pain level, if you have it or not, everything. And the connection and the synergy of nutrition and food and all of it is huge. It's huge. Look who is here. I have not seen my girl in so long. Y'all, Mother Hen is here. I want to say, lift your water. Cheers. Anyway, I'm so glad you're here. Good to see you, Nancy. Jocelyn, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I thought it was a good class too. And the next class that we're doing too is even more. Is going to really dig into the mood stuff because it's really important. We don't think about this stuff. We don't think about the brain gut axis. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff. And I'm bringing it all in there and I'm going to tie it all together for you. So if you're not a part of that, go check it out at savingdinner.com/nutrition. It's a good class, I think. Lincoln, lay down and be a good boy. Yes, Mother Hen's here too. Yes, she is. She came. All right, so let's talk about this whole thing. This whole idea of shame and the impact of it kind of came up when I was thinking about some things and, some family stuff. I'm not going to get into it, dynamic things, and how the silence over the years of, how we keep silent about things and how it's connected to shame and how shame is connected to fear. I was thinking about all of that. And I thought it's time to really get into the weeds about this because I know I'm not the only one. And even though I think to myself, oh, I've handled this and I've moved on from this and all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. No, I haven't. Mostly I have, but it's still, there's little hidden pockets. Look at there. Doris is here, y'all. I'm so glad to see you, Doris. Anyway, so, my brother, when I was growing up, my brother used to call me Golden Girl, right? And it was because he said, everything always works out for you, Leanne. Somehow or another, it just did. And it did back then. I wore a perpetual smile. Just did. I learned from an early age that that's just something that you do. And, under that practice smile of mine, though, was something else entirely, and that was shame. Shame. A whole lot of shame. And it wasn't the obvious kind, right? It wasn't the, being caught red-handed kind. It was the quiet kind. It was the invisible kind, the kind that families keep as secrets. we learn, those of you who come from families like this, we learn. Nobody ever says to us, don't ever tell about this or don't ever talk about this. We just learn and we know right from the very get-go, it's not talked about. And that's how it was with my dad. He was a carouser, you know. I would be sneaking in high school, coming in late, and he'd be sneaking out. He was a big drinker and a bon vivant, as they used to say. And I didn't tell my friends about that. They would always tell us stories about, their dads and all the things that they did with them. And I just sat there and listened to their stories, never added like, oh yeah, I do this with my dad or I do that with my dad. I didn't do anything with my dad. And it was just this shame kind of a thing that this is what my dad did. I don't think anybody knew about that, especially my friends. And, you don't talk to your teachers, you don't talk to your friends about it. You just kind of walk around with it. And, the other interesting aspect of it, you don't talk to your family about it either. It just is, it's just part of who your family dynamic and who you are and what happens. And that's it. But I'm talking about it now because I believe silence has become the container for shame. And I believe that a lot of us are walking around with these old containers full of old shame. And while we have certainly dealt with maybe some of the harder aspects of it, maybe it's still showing up because there's other things in your life that aren't going the way that maybe you want them to go. Maybe it has something to do with old shame. And I don't think that it's necessary, and I'm not one of these people who believe that you need to necessarily open old wounds and bare them to the world and talk about them endlessly and talk about trauma and all of that. There's no offense to millennials, but they're really big into the trauma thing now. And everything's trauma and childhood trauma. Well, I had the trauma of this and the trauma of that. I get it. And maybe I'm using the word shame instead of trauma, but I don't think so. Because I think that, when we aren't allowed to talk about something, so to speak, or we have that invisible circle around something like that. And when we don't name what happened, we don't exactly heal entirely from it because it's been silenced. And the toxic trade-off for silence is shame. I don't know if anybody's read any Brené Brown, but she goes deep into that. She's done research on it, and it's pretty interesting. And psychologists have long tied shame to fear, and particularly the fear of disconnection. It's one of the reasons why we have this toxic need to people please. And we know we have this deep brooding fear inside of us. If they knew this about me, they wouldn't want to have anything to do with me. Okay. And to the point too, where sometimes those of us who've gone through this thing, we look at it from the perspective of, you're afraid to even tell anybody what it is that you even want to do with your life. I remember when I was 18 years old and I was watching, I don't know, Good Morning America. And I thought, I could do that. I never told a soul that I wanted to do this. And then when I was in college and actually taking a journalism class, I was just, somebody was like, what do you want to do with journalism? Like, you want to be a reporter, you want to be a writer, you want to do whatever. And I was afraid to tell them, no, I wanted to go on TV. I want to go on TV. I want to be a news reporter. I want to ask questions. I want to interview people. I want to get into it. I have this endless curiosity. I was embarrassed to tell anybody. I was shamed into not saying anything, my own personal shame, because I didn't want somebody to say, you could never do that. You're not good enough to do this kind of thing. And that shame hung with me for years, post college, it hung with me. And, We numb ourselves with perfectionism. We numb ourselves with people pleasing, and then we just smile our way all the way through it, don't we? We just keep that smile going. But the thing is that shame thrives in secrecy and it dies in the light. So that's why I'm talking about it, because that little hidden pocket of the leftover shame, that generational shame and years old shame, I'm done with. I don't want to talk about it anymore. And you know what? I've got the best quote for you ever from Brene Brown. And God, if she were here, I swear I would hug her neck, because I think this is the one quote that really got me thinking about shame like 10 years ago and really digging it out and excavating it. It's this: shame needs three things to grow exponentially in our lives: secrecy, silence, and judgment. And I had all three of those. I spent a lifetime unwinding all of this stuff, and it wired into my brain and it shrouded other things that I wanted to do. And as confident as I may have seemed, and as gung ho, and I'm just going to do it anyway, as I may have seemed, the shame in the background of you're not good enough, you can't do this, you better not tell anybody because. But I'm going to tell you something. The truth can sometimes be messy, and especially when it's messy. That's when we really need to get into this and understand, what is this connected to? Why is it that I'm unable to move forward? What is this hesitation all about? That was the thing that was really getting me. Like I said, it's little pockets of old shame, and they have a hold on me. They show up in my hesitation. I have been really horrible on social media lately. Really horrible. I mean, not lately, for the last year. I just got tired of it. I got burned out on it. This is what I'm telling myself. But the other part that I'm telling myself is, I have a business, I have a brand, I have a message that I think is really important. But then the shame inside of me is saying, nobody wants to listen to you, Leanne. You're not a celebrity. You're no one special. Who do you think you are? And it's all that old stuff, and it keeps coming back. So this holds me back instead of moving me forward. And it's connected to shame. Lincoln, you are a pain. So that's why I'm talking about it now. I just want to be done with it now and forever. And, if you are relating to any of this stuff that I'm saying, if you know what this feels like and you're carrying a little bit of shame, whether it's fresh or it's decades old, like the stuff that I'm talking about, we have to know this very important thing. And that is that it does not need to define your future. I have noticed when I take the time to take a look at what's going on in my life, to point something out and say, wait a minute, I'm doing this. I'm thinking these things. So, journaling is so important when we do those kind of things, because that's when we recognize that it doesn't have to hold our future. That's when we see that it's time to allow shame to loosen its grip and help us to reclaim our future, because we're calling it out for what it is. That's why I love journaling. That's why I love this show. That's why I love talking to you, because this is important. And if you're wondering what that sound is, it's Lincoln's duck. Inside that duck is the crinkle sound of plastic paper, and has little squeaky toys too. Sorry, he's just really rambunctious. Now, I wouldn't leave you with just, there's my story, and now it's not as bad because I've noticed it. Bye-bye. What I did was, how do I take this to the next level? What steps do I need to take? How am I going to get shame to completely loosen its grip on me and keep going forward? I've got 5 things for you. It's all research back, okay? Because I believe that I need to shed the rest of this shame, and I'm going to bet you do too, okay? If we're going to live in full bloom, There's no shame in that, right? There's nothing that should be holding us back from living in full bloom. So, number one is to name it out loud, but you only do this with someone safe. Go away, Lincoln. Get your duck and go. There's a Dr. Daniel Siegel. He coined the phrase, name it to tame it. I thought that was so brilliant. So when you speak the thing that you've been hiding, right? Especially in the presence of somebody who's empathetic, you begin to deactivate the emotional charge. That's huge. The emotional charge of shame is, Lincoln, please, come here. The emotional charge of shame is tremendous, and it's energy sucking. And it's one of the reasons that not only holds us back, but it also keeps us away from what it is that we want to do. And we blame it on something else. But there's a deeper thing there, and it is the shame. So when we're talking about it and we're naming it and we're calling it out and we're saying this has been affected me, and not only did it start here, but these are the ways that it has shown up in my life, then we can start to really get into the nitty-gritty of it and start plucking it out, one dirty, rotten egg at a time. And number two is to write the story as it actually happened. We've all been in that place. They call that narrative therapy, okay? And that shows that you take ownership of your own story by writing it down truthfully from your perspective for what you've seen, right? And it gives you power over it instead of having it have power over you. And I will tell you something. It is interesting because sometimes your perspective, it's like when people say, well, I speak my truth or whatever. This is what this means, because you can only have your own perspective. And your sibling or somebody else might say, well, that's not what happened. I was there too, and blah, blah, blah. But you only have your little sliver of reality of how it happened to you and how you perceived it. So I'm telling you this because I want to gently love on you right now and let you know that your perspective is enough. Write your story out as it actually happened from your perspective, how you saw things. And don't let anybody else take that away from you. You become the storyteller, and you are no longer letting shame tell the story. Does that make sense? Number three is to separate shame from guilt. This is huge. This is massive because shame says, I am bad, while guilt says, I did something bad. There's a big, big difference because neuroscience shows us that guilt can be productive because it can change our mind. It can change our our perspective of what it is that we're going to do next. It can correct a stray path even. Shame, on the other hand, what does that do? It paralyzes you. It holds you back. And if we start to catch those internal statements that we're making to ourselves and start, instead of saying, I am bad, and just say, no, what happened over here was bad. And, I had something to do with it. Allow the guilt to correct the path. Easy. And then let that go. Because you know what happens? That's a reframe of compassion. Nobody lives this life errorless. Nobody does it perfectly. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has something that they feel guilty about. Everyone. But don't allow that to morph itself into shame and hold you back. Amen. Jeanette's so right. We are hardest on ourselves. I try to catch myself. Positivity changes our perspective instantly. It does. And the reframe is so important because our I am statements are so, though your brain is listening to this. Oh, I am bad. Oh, so I'm bad. Okay. Your brain wires to that statement. But I'm a good person who made a mistake. I'm a good person who used poor judgment. That's guilt, and there's a correction for that. Okay? Do you see the freedom in the different statements like that? Amen. Thank you, Nancy. Number 4 is to engage in identity-based affirmation. Okay, this is a Stanford study, a Stanford psychologist. Listen to what he said. His name's Jeffrey Cohen. He said, people who engage in short exercises affirming who they are and not what they did showed long-lasting improvements in mental and physical health. That is huge. That is huge. Yes, ma'am. Nancy says, I am is daily freedom. Right on. Exactly. Exactly. So one of the things that you can do if like you have this really, old habit, uh, decades old habit of saying, I am this, I am that, I am stupid, I'm, all the stuff that you have wired in, or maybe it was said by your parents or your grandparents and you've said it to yourself and maybe even to your children, God forbid. But start writing down 3 values that define who you want to be and revisit them every single day and put them in those sentences that I am becoming whatever. I am becoming the kind of person who, I am becoming the very best version of myself. I am becoming the type of woman who lives courageously. All these things, they will rewire your brain and they will give you an opportunity to break free of shame and start living in a victorious life. It's simple, hard, but it's simple. The number 5 thing that you need to do is, God, you know what? I swear this is the year of nervous system regulation. Shame isn't just psychological, it's also physiological. It lives in your body. You can feel it. You can feel it in the tension. I've said it so many times that we're just a big bag of chemicals, in this big human body sack. Inside of us have so many things going on. And what do you think shame does? Shame triggers cortisol, the stress hormone. Shame shows up in the way that you breathe, and you can even be holding in so much tension that you can make yourself sick. That has been proven over and over again. So when we start doing things that are going to change our body's chemistry, like moving, that's why exercise is an endorphin, and it's why it is linked to such positivity and such positive things that happen in your body. And it helps with depression and it helps with feeling better about yourself. It makes you euphoric, right? We get all those hormones just circulating in our bodies and we feel really good. We got to keep doing that. So, just even shaking it out like this, and standing up and doing some squats and some arm movements, a 4-minute workout, good old Zach Bush. There's so many things that we can do that moves our bodies around and changes our chemistry. Think about it this way. If you stay the same, you're always going to get the same. But if you do something different and shake it up a little bit, literally and figuratively, guess what? Your biology changes. That's not woo-woo. That's pure science. So do it. Write down like 5 things that you can do. It's just great. Even like a little ice pack right here or on the back of your neck. That also kind of works there. The thing is, you don't have to carry shame around forever. And if you've noticed little pockets of it like I have coming up in your life and you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's old and it's awful, you're not alone if it's still lingering. We've all dealt with it. I'm just saying, let's really dig it out. Not that we're going to sit there and navel gaze, all day long, but so that we have the opportunity to really get into the stuff that holds us back, because there's always a connection there. You know it. We felt it. I've got a bigger post on this happening on Substack. So if you're part of my Substack crew, you'll be seeing that later on today. Meanwhile, don't forget, we've got the BOGO going. Buy one, get one. It's just, how can you say no to that? savingdinner.com/show. And do not forget, those masterclasses are a way for you to get the nutrition education you need to take care of yourself for the rest of your life. I'm telling you, it is going to be it's a life-changing series. So I hope you are joining me for that. Catherine, thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for being here. I appreciate you greatly. Peace be with you. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.